Hello friends, I hope you're doing really well. I've been sitting on this video topic for a little while just because I kind of had some in queue and I really wasn't sure when was the right time, and today feels like the right time. So I want to talk a little bit about people pleasing and how that impacts our food. So neurobiologically, if we're in a people pleasing state, it's not going to be in a rest and digest, that's going to be into some level of activation. So naturally, that's going to impact our GI motility, our interoceptive awareness acuity, meaning like we're not going to be as aware of how we feel inside if all our focus is outside. And I know the outside constant reassurance seeking and fawning just has to do with obviously relational safety. So it's not like you're doing something bad. It's a very unconscious decision until you learn like, oh, I'm people pleasing in this moment. And I see that how this impacts my food. So I need to work both ends here about how to know my food needs, but also how to deal with the circumstances that I have a really hard time staying within myself and being really clear about what's good for me and what isn't. So just want to put that out there too, that's naturally going to happen. You're not doing something wrong because you're having that experience. It's kind of autopilot. However, we need to kind of get a little broader, I think, with people pleasing, kind of what's happening. And instead of like, oh, I can't believe I keep people pleasing and I know I shouldn't be doing that. And, I'm such a people pleaser. Well, that's not you. It's not an identity. It's a strategy. You're not born a people pleaser. We are born as humans who need safe relationships to be able to have some reciprocity. And your needs get met, my needs get met. There's a back and forth, and the back and forth depends on the stage of development you're in. I mean, you're a kid, you have high needs and they're supposed to be met. Now, as you get older, there's a little more, compromising in some of those things, but generally your obviously your basic needs ought to get met, and you need to be in safe relationship. But we're going to talk about the circumstances where all that gets all messed up, how it impacts your food decisions, and what we can do on both ends. So these are very important topics because people who struggle with food issues, whether restricting, binging, back and forth between the two, all struggle with boundary issues. Some people are overbounded to protect themselves. Some people are underbounded. They don't ever say no. And some people say no all the time to protect themselves from all kinds of things as well, of boundary crossings, right? So, but let's kind of circle back to this validation seeking, because it comes back to if you're struggling really with not having a very solid internal locus to control, meaning I know how I feel, I know what I need, I know what I want. If that feels missing inside, there's a high probability you do come from a maybe we don't do emotions kind of situation, or only certain kinds of emotions, or a whole lot of performing. And we live in a very external, generally, our culture is very external based and quick fixes and external validation kind of world. And it takes a lot of courage to be like, I'm not doing that. Like, what do I need? Let's go slow. What's the truth? Am I acting according to my values? All that kind of stuff. It's a growth edge to allow ourselves the time and the space and the care to really listen when our body is saying, no, this is too much or not enough, and honor that and respect that. So if we're constantly seeking external validation, it creates this kind of behavioral feedback look. So if you've gotten feedback that says, oh, you look so great because you've lost weight, it's going to motivate you and your brain to dissociate from you, who you are, what your values are, your food needs, your needs for anything, rest, care, certain kinds of foods you want to eat, certain kinds of movements you do or don't want to do. You get pulled out to connect out here, and you leave basically yourself in the dust back here. And it causes a dissociation from really knowing yourself inside, which is why people keep seeking external validation. I can't feel myself inside because it's been undernourished. What my needs are has been undernourished. So I wait for the outside to tell me who to be and what to eat and what to weigh and am I okay or not. And it's a really nasty feedback loop because we lose track of our sense of self and our values. And we keep seeking external validation. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Is my body good? Am I okay? Am I okay? Versus like you show up somewhere, you co-regulate in relationship with people, you recognize that isn't a safe match for you, and you back off and go somewhere else. Versus like, I have to stay here and I have to get what I need from them. So who do I need to be, or what do I need to weigh for them to not hurt me or like me? And then it keeps, it's like you get further and further away from what honestly your body needs to be eating or doing to have some equilibrium, and we keep abandoning ourselves. Okay, and again, these are autopilot responses that become learned behavioral feedback loops and neurobiology, but it's all malleable. So there's lots of hope here. This is all about the background, but then the hope, okay? So the reality is when we do this though, when we seek external validation, is my weight okay? Am I going to be okay if I weigh 5 pounds? I'm afraid if I gain 5 pounds or 50 or whatever, I'm not going to be okay. So I'm going to do the behaviors that try to ensure my okayness, even if it keeps my eating disorder alive. That's what a lot of people are kind of stuck in that loop, right? So the reality is that we're not going to get authentic connection and relational safety from these quick, no, of course you don't look big. No, of course, it's like, it's more, it just puts Band-Aid on the situation because it's not the solution to the deeper issue. Okay, the deeper issue is belonging. When you believe you are valued, just inherently, no performing, doesn't, how smart you are, what you weigh, what you eat, those aren't in the equation to what makes a person valuable. Safety issues are going to arise if it's something you feel like you've got to perform. Okay, so when the problem really is when value is equated with thinness, and I'll say performance, because all of my clients, and I had to recover from this too, not only had food and body image issues as a need to try to, basically ward off rejection. It was also about, okay, I'm going to be the hardest worker here, and I'm going to know the most and be the most prepared, and I'm not going to take a break, and I don't need that much sleep. I'm fine. I can get by. We got all those issues too, because it's just an extension. Food is just an extension of this performative way of living. And sometimes the performance is about getting, oh, okay, they told me I'm good, so that must mean I'm lovable. Sometimes it's about, if I perform, at least I won't be hurt. Maybe I won't be criticized today. Because if we grow up in those environments, whether it's our home or our school or wherever we get this stuff from, is that if you have to perform for love or security or whatever, you're going to place your value on those things and becomes who you think you are. Okay? And that's where people pleasing gets played in here, is that if our value is equated with thinness and performance, we learn that belonging comes through people pleasing. What do they need from me? Who do they need me to be? And I'll do that so that I don't get hurt, or I get what I need. Okay. So how do we come out of all this negative feedback loop here of people pleasing, and just learn how to get our food and other belonging needs met? How do we start to do this? So I'm just going to give you a couple. This is not all of them. I've got a longer list, but I want this video to be 2 hours long. Okay. It's not about performing the list, by the way. It's just about a beginning. It's about awareness, and then making a commitment eventually as you continue to stay unblended. Here's my food needs. And even though my food needs feel new and maybe kind of hard, it doesn't mean it's a life or death threat for me. And we have to learn how to differentiate between, this is hard and I'm going to feel more feelings, and I'm going to have to deal with these old beliefs I have, which have a lot of feelings. I might have some GI issues that I work through as I'm working through all these threat responses. It's not the same thing as mortal threat. And our systems don't always know that, so we have to tell them. We have to actually literally rehearse this, okay? I think first step first is, let's acknowledge how hard this is. It's hard to grow up. In environments where thinking and like basically belief systems and actions demonstrate that, like, we're better than other people based. Let's just keep it in the food realm here. We're better. I'm better. I feel so much relief. I'm so proud of myself that, like, I ate less and I lost weight. That's teaching children that happiness comes from weight loss. That's teaching children that value and worth are based on people's emotions and opinions about you, like what they say about you behind your back, based on their own beliefs and trauma and stuff like that. It's teaching children that they can't trust their bodies. Then if they grow up into a body that isn't what is being told in their environment is right, or the cultural ideal, that something is bad and wrong about them, and therefore they're usually not lovable or they're not safe. So they're always trying to get it and to earn it, because it's a core need, right? To not just have food, oxygen, shelter, water, and sleep, but we also thrive in some relational safety. And we thrive when our just basic personhood is valued and respected. Okay? We're not always maybe valued and respected for, like, what we do, but that's not the same thing as inherent worth and value. Okay? And these are hard lessons, and kids learn them by observation and the environments they're in. It's not the same thing as you might tell your kid you love them no matter what, but the next minute, if you're criticizing your body in front of them or someone else's body or some celebrity, now we've got a conflict inside. Like, well, who do I need to be? Because this is said and this is said, and I don't know what to do. It creates, like, okay, some kind of strategy, basically. And we want to heal from all that. Okay, let's acknowledge it's hard being around people who, again, criticize their own and other people's body changes. Let's say it's not weight, body changes, it's aging or changes in fitness level or able-bodiedness or whatever. And that makes a person less of a human if they change for whatever reason. Okay, these are hard things we have to acknowledge. We have strong denial parts in most of us that want to minimize what happened because it's painful. It's painful that, like, and confusing, right? Like, some parts of, like, what you've learned have been great, and some parts have been really painful. So how do you merge the two? And that's not part of this lesson today, but it has a lot to do with recognizing people are human and flawed. And we see that when we're adults. When we're children, we won't see it. We see our authority figures, like, up on the pedestal of knowledge of everything, right? And we just do it because we need that connection. But the problem is connecting here might cause a threat in other needs we have, okay? Again, this causes a lot of pain and confusion and fear of rejection, okay? So I always tell people, of course you started trying to tell yourself that you don't need XYZ 1, 2, 3, that you don't like that kind of food, that you love this activity, that maybe you don't, because you rather tell yourself those things than to be criticized or to miss out on some affirmation. Okay, so of course you did that thing. What choice did you have if you wanted to stay relationally connected? Okay, it makes sense that you sought external validation through dieting, through food rules, through comparing, competing, feeling like if you're not doing the latest thing that's in the culture around health or wellness or whatever, that you're missing out. It's going to feel like a threat to do the right thing, which is to eat regularly, pack food you need when you're busy, slow down, all the things that would actually benefit our health, that are well established, enough good quality sleep, and adequate variety of food, and slowing down and enjoying these things, and a good attitude and a trusting attitude about your eating and your body, relational good experiences around that. Those are things that help our health, but that's not performative. And so therefore you might not please people with it, and that can feel like a threat, okay, to these other earlier relational things. So, a lot of this is like educating ourselves, like how this works and why we're struggling and why we feel stuck, okay? I think accepting that we're going to have discomfort, but it's not a threat. When you start eating more food and you eat regularly, yes, your metabolism is trying to wake back up again, and you're trying to create more ATP and make your body be more efficient. Not more efficient, but more just thriving essentially. And at the beginning, your GI tract is not going to be quite at that same pace with what you want to do in your brain is. So it takes some time, and therefore there's physical discomfort. There's emotional discomfort, because the rules are, if I eat less, I'm lovable. And now you're eating more in a black and white thinking kind of space. You're like, oh, well, I'm not as lovable now. And that has to be processed and worked through. The what would it mean if questions need to be asked. And is it true? That all has to be worked through. Slowing down is scary. Getting your food needs met when nobody else is around you is scary, because if your worth and value is tied up in people pleasing and performing and doing what everybody else is doing, it's going to feel like a threat. But we have to know, like, I can't abandon myself. I know my body is saying this, and I know what my values are and where I want to go. And I can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. Okay? And I really think a big piece of this is finding people. And that, I know that takes risk and it takes some effort to be in situations where you can be seen. And we all have discernment here, and we can keep working on getting that better, where this person can hear this and not like make it all about them or turn away or whatever. It doesn't mean you share everything with everybody, but we all need some safe people. We just do. And making that a big part of your recovery is super important. And the last thing is, like, what do you want? What do you want to eat? What do you like the temperature in your room to be when you sleep? What kind of day, if you were going to move, would make it the easiest, like, you know, a lower hanging fruit to be able to do it. Yeah, and especially with food. What do you like to eat? And what's your favorite store to shop in right now? And because the temperatures are different, you know, most places are heating up, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're cooling down. And how is your body responding to that? Like, we need to know these questions, or we know the answer to these questions. And if you don't ask, you won't get the answers. But now you're working into, instead of people pleasing, being more inside and more of an internal locus of control. Oh, I know what I need and who I am. And I'm learning the different contexts in which we can get those needs met. So I know this is a little bit longer video. I appreciate everybody who watched live. There's a lot to think about. Because I know it spans, if it's not resonating with food or body image or movement anymore, it's certainly about how you spend your time, what you spend your time on. It may not be cool to be the person who hasn't seen the latest TikTok, but you are not using your phone as much anymore. You're only watching these kind of videos. You give yourself a little time period and a boundary, and that's all you do. And because you're trying to protect, you know, your brain and to improve your focus and concentration. So that's not the norm of the culture, and you're not pleasing it, essentially. You are like, well, what's gonna be best for me and my life and healing and what I'm being called to do. So that's what these questions do. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one. And if you have any requests for topics that you're interested in, please put in the comments below. You can email me. Happy to get those emails and meet you. And until next time, have a good one. Bye for now.